Have you ever felt a whisper from your past? A faint echo of a girl you were once told to leave behind? A girl whose dreams were too big, whose feelings were too much, whose laughter was too loud, and who was gently, or not so gently, taught to silence herself for the comfort of others. This isn't just a memory. It's the voice of your inner girl, the true heir to your emotional kingdom, and her story is the foundation upon which your entire feminine essence is built. What if healing wasn't about fixing something broken, but about finally listening to the one person you were taught to ignore? Welcome back to Feminine Queen, the channel dedicated to the powerful archetype of women who lead with grace, wisdom, and an unshakable sense of self. Today, we are embarking on a profound journey, not into the abstract, but into the very core of your being. We will explore how healing your inner girl is the essential first step to releasing your most potent, authentic, and radiant feminine power. Guided by the groundbreaking insights of the psychologist Carl Jung, we will uncover the path to reclaiming your sovereignty, not by looking outward for validation, but by turning inward to the source of your true strength. You are a feminine queen, and your reign begins with a coronation that takes place within. This conversation is about transformation. It's about understanding that the anxieties, the self-doubts, and the recurring patterns in your life are not your failures. They are messages from a younger self who is still waiting for you. They are clues on a sacred map leading back to your throne. Together, we will walk this path, illuminating the shadows and celebrating the light, so that you can finally integrate every part of yourself and step into the fullness of your power. This is more than just a video. It is an invitation to come home to yourself, to the magnificent feminine queen you have always been destined to be. 1. The Lost Heir. Reclaiming your inner child's throne. Within the complex architecture of your psyche resides a figure of immense power and vulnerability, your inner child. Carl Jung identified this as a potent archetype, representing your original, uncorrupted self, the embodiment of your potential, your wonder, and your purest emotions. Yet for so many women, this inner child is not a joyful playmate, but a lost heir, an exiled queen. She is the little girl who was told her sensitivity was a weakness. Her intuition was fantasy, and her needs were an inconvenience. Society, family, and early experiences may have taught her that survival depended on trading her authentic crown for a mask of compliance and agreeableness. She learned to be quiet when she wanted to scream, to smile when she wanted to cry, and to shrink herself to fit into spaces far too small for her spirit. This exile is the source of so much adult pain. It manifests as that persistent feeling of not being enough, the deep-seated fear of abandonment, or the relentless drive for perfectionism that leaves you perpetually exhausted. Healing this wound is not an act of coddling a weakness. It is the most profound act of rebellion and reclamation you can undertake. It is a political act within your own inner kingdom. It begins when you, the conscious adult, decide to turn your attention inward and truly see her. This means kneeling before her, not in pity, but in reverence. It means listening to her whispers, which have become your emotional triggers. When you feel that surge of irrational jealousy, that crippling fear of being left behind, or that compulsive need to please everyone, you are not hearing a flaw in your character. You are hearing the distress call of your exiled inner girl. Crowning her means validating her feelings without judgment. It means telling her, "I hear you. I see your pain. You were right to feel that way." A true feminine queen doesn't attempt to banish or transcend her past. She builds her throne right in the center of it, integrating the wisdom of her wounds and ruling with the combined strength of her adult self and the pure, untamed spirit of the child she has finally brought home. 2. The feminine lockdown, how society silenced your sacred energy. Your feminine energy was never the fragile, delicate, passive force it was made out to be. That was a narrative crafted to control it. In its true form, your feminine essence is a force of nature, wildly intuitive, unapologetically receptive, fiercely creative, and deeply connected to the cycles of life and death. It is the part of you that feels before it thinks, that knows without needing logical proof, and that draws power from emotion, connection, and being. But you were likely raised in a world that prizes the opposite, a patriarchal structure that deifies logic, rewards relentless action, and pathologizes the deep, cyclical, and sometimes chaotic nature of feminine energy. You were taught to mistrust your gut feelings, to rationalize away your emotions as hormonal or hysterical, and to view your innate receptivity not as a strength, but as a vulnerability to be guarded against. This is the great feminine lockdown. Reclaiming this sacred energy is therefore not about adding more softness, wearing more floral dresses, or learning to be more gentle. Those are merely aesthetics. The real work is a radical act of demolition. It's about identifying and dismantling the internal armor you were forced to build, the armor of hyper-independence that blocks true intimacy, the armor of intellectualism that dismisses the wisdom of your body, and the armor of stoicism that denies your right to feel the full spectrum of your emotions. To be a feminine queen is to grant yourself permission to feel everything, deeply and without apology. From a Stoic lens, this isn't about being controlled by your emotions, but about having the courage to face them. The true power lies not in suppressing the waves of feeling, but in learning to surf them with grace and discernment. Your power is activated when you can feel profound sadness, righteous anger, or ecstatic joy, and then, from that place of deep feeling, act with clarity, wisdom, and decisive intention. 3. The Shadow Court. Confronting your exiled self. Every magnificent queen has a court, a council of advisors. In your inner world, however, some of the most potent advisors have been exiled to the dungeons of your unconscious. These are the parts of yourself that you were taught to be ashamed of, the traits you learned to disown in order to be seen as good, nice, or acceptable. This is what Carl Jung called the shadow. It holds your so-called negative qualities, your rage, your sensuality, your ambition, your jealousy, your laziness, your too-muchness. We spend lifetimes running from these aspects, projecting them onto others and pretending they don't exist. We see the manipulative co-worker or the overly dramatic friend and fail to recognize the reflection of a disowned part of our own psyche. But a feminine queen understands that there is immense power waiting in those shadows. She knows that true wholeness doesn't come from being pure light, but from having the courage to integrate the darkness. Confronting your shadow is not about exorcising demons, it's about liberating prisoners and reclaiming their strength. Carl Jung's shadow work is a process of auditing these exiled parts and understanding their purpose. That biting jealousy you feel isn't just a toxic trait, it's a fiercely loyal messenger pointing directly to a deep, unmet desire within you. That chronic people-pleasing isn't just a lack of backbone, it's a brilliant survival strategy developed by your inner child to secure love and safety when she felt powerless. The simmering rage you suppress isn't a sign of being unhinged. It's the voice of a boundary that has been violated one too many times. A feminine queen doesn't fear her shadows. She invites them out of the dungeon and gives them a seat at her council table. She listens to their grievances, understands their origins, and then consciously decides how to integrate their power in a healthy, productive way. She learns to wield her anger as a tool for justice, her ambition as a force for creation, and her sensuality as a source of vitality and joy. 4. The Art of Sacred Selfishness. You were handed a rule book written by a society that benefits from your depletion, which states that your needs come last. This rule book taught you that setting a boundary is cruel, that prioritizing your own joy is self-indulgent, and that the word no is a weapon that hurts others. It conditioned you to be a perpetual giver, an emotional caretaker for the world, leaving your own well empty. The result is a deep-seated guilt that arises any time you dare to put yourself first. You were taught that being a good woman means being endlessly available, accommodating and selfless. This is perhaps the most insidious lie sold to women, because it frames your self-preservation as a moral failing. A feminine queen recognizes this rulebook for what it is, a tool of subjugation, and she sets it on fire. She instead embraces the art of sacred selfishness. This is not the petty selfishness of narcissism, but the divine selfishness of sovereignty. It is the profound understanding that her first and most critical duty is to the health and vitality of her own kingdom, her mind, her body, and her spirit. She knows that her energy, her time, her attention, and her love are not infinite public resources. They are her most precious royal treasures, and she guards them with the ferocity of a dragon. Saying no is not an act of rejection, it is an act of devotion to her own well-being. Prioritizing an afternoon of rest over a draining social obligation is not indulgent, it's essential kingdom maintenance. A stoic mind understands this perfectly. You cannot control how others react to your boundaries. You can only control the courage it takes to set them. Your sacred duty is to your own inner alignment, and from that full, nourished, and protected space, the love and support you choose to give is authentic, powerful, and truly a gift, not an obligation. 5. The Coronation, stepping into unapologetic sovereignty. The ultimate goal of this deep psychological work is what Carl Jung termed individuation. This word is often misunderstood as simple self-improvement or becoming more individualistic, but it is far more profound. Individuation is the process of becoming an individual, meaning you are no longer divided against yourself. It is the sacred process of self-reclamation, where you cease to fragment your personality to please different people or fit into different boxes. You stop being one person at work, another with your family, and a third when you are alone. Instead, you courageously gather all the disparate, exiled, and celebrated pieces of yourself, the wounded child, the wise old woman, the fierce warrior, the tender lover, the shadow and the light, and integrate them into a cohesive, authentic whole. This is your coronation. This coronation is not a single event, but a conscious, ongoing choice to embody your full self, unapologetically. It's the moment you look in the mirror and declare, I am all of it. I am the tender heart that cries at movies and the tempestuous storm that defends my boundaries. I am the methodical planner and the spontaneous artist. I am the spiritual healer and the ruthless businesswoman. A feminine queen doesn't chase after a feeling of wholeness because she understands she already is whole. Her work is to simply remove the illusions and conditioning that told her otherwise. Stepping into this sovereignty means you no longer live your life seeking permission or validation. You are the ultimate authority in your own life. You make decisions not from a place of fear or shoulds, but from a deep internal sense of knowing what is true and right for you. This is the ultimate freedom, the throne you were always meant to occupy. All right, feminine queens. I have to pause for a moment and just say thank you. You are the beating heart of this incredible community. Your likes, your insightful comments, and your shares are what fuel this space and allow us to have these powerful conversations. We wouldn't be here without you. So please, keep that magnificent energy flowing. If you're finding value in this journey today, don't forget to subscribe to Feminine Queen. Hit that notification bell so you never miss a deep dive, and share this video with another queen who needs to hear it. I will love you forever for it. Now, let's continue our journey. 6. The language of pleasure, your body as a sovereign realm. For centuries, the feminine body has been treated as a territory to be conquered, controlled, and commodified. You were taught to view it as a project in constant need of improvement, a thing to be dieted, disciplined, and sculpted to meet an ever-changing external ideal. This conditioning creates a profound dissociation, where you live in your head, treating your body like an inconvenient vehicle or an ornament, rather than the sacred vessel it is. You were taught that pleasure was frivolous at best and sinful at worst, a dangerous distraction from the serious business of productivity and duty. But a feminine queen understands that this disconnection from the body is a disconnection from her power. She declares her body a sovereign realm, not a colony of societal expectation. She begins to learn the language of her body, and its native tongue is pleasure. This isn't just about sexuality, although that is a vital part of it. It's about the full-bodied sensory experience of being alive. It's choosing to dance in your living room, not to burn calories, but for the sheer ecstasy of movement. It's eating a piece of dark chocolate not as a cheat, but as a moment of deliberate celebratory indulgence. It's buying bedsheets not because they're practical, but because they feel divine against your skin. This is the practice of somatic reverence. A feminine queen doesn't seek to dominate or punish her body into submission. She seeks to honor it. She listens to its requests for rest, its desire for nourishing food, and its deep need for joyful movement. She understands that pleasure is not a distraction from her purpose, it is the fuel for it. Pleasure is your birthright, a direct line to your feminine vitality and creative life force. 7. The myth of the strong woman. You have been draped in a heavy, burdensome cloak, the title of the strong woman. You were praised for your resilience, which often meant your capacity to endure mistreatment in silence. You were applauded for being low maintenance, which was a convenient way of saying you didn't voice your needs. You were celebrated for your ability to handle everything on your own, a trait that isolated you and kept you from experiencing the power of true, interdependent connection. This archetype of the strong woman, while seemingly a compliment, is a psychological trap. It equates strength with a stoic-like suppression of emotion and a refusal to show vulnerability. It teaches you that breaking down is a sign of failure, that asking for help is a sign of weakness, and that your value is tied to your ability to suffer gracefully. A feminine queen redefines strength on her own terms. She knows that true strength isn't found in unbreakable armor, but in the courage to be vulnerable. It is the strength to admit when you're not okay, the strength to fall apart completely when you need to, and the profound wisdom to know that this dissolution is a necessary part of evolution. A queen's power is not in never breaking, it is in her alchemical ability to take her broken pieces and rebuild herself into something more wise, more compassionate, and more formidable than before. She understands that her tears are not a weakness, they are a sacred cleansing. Her need for support is not a flaw, it is a sign of her humanity and her capacity for connection. True feminine strength is flexible, fluid, and fiercely authentic. It's the courage to be fully human in all your messy, beautiful, and powerful glory. 8. The Alchemy of Loneliness. There is a particular ache that can visit you in the quiet moments, a feeling of emptiness that you have been conditioned to fear and avoid at all costs. Loneliness. Society tells you that being alone is a sign of being unwanted, a social failure. And so, you learn to fill every empty space with noise, with distraction, with other people, even if they are the wrong people. You scroll endlessly, You stay in relationships that have long expired. You pack your schedule until you're running on fumes, all to avoid the profound silence where you are left with only yourself. But what if that ache isn't a void? What if it is an invitation from the deepest part of your soul? Carl Jung believed that the psyche has a natural, healing intelligence, and that it often speaks loudest when the external world is quiet. A feminine queen does not fear solitude. She learns to wield it as a powerful tool. She understands that loneliness is different from being alone. Loneliness is the pain of disconnection from oneself. Solitude is the joy of reconnection. She intentionally carves out time to be with herself, to enter the temple of silence. It is in this sacred space that the noise of the world's expectations finally fades, and she can hear her own voice again, unfiltered, unedited, and absolutely unstoppable. In solitude, she untangles her feelings from the feelings of others. She dreams her own dreams, not the ones she was assigned. She connects with her intuition, that deep, internal guidance system that is her most loyal advisor. Loneliness is not your enemy. It is a sacred portal. It is the crucible where you meet your truest self and emerge with a clarity and self-possession that no amount of external company can provide. 9. The rebellion of rest. In our modern world, exhaustion has been rebranded as a status symbol. You were taught that a packed calendar is a sign of importance, that hustle and grind is the only path to success, and that sleep is for the weak. This relentless cult of productivity is profoundly anti-feminine. The feminine principle is cyclical. It ebbs and flows. It understands that periods of deep rest are not just necessary for recovery, but are essential for creativity, insight, and regeneration. To deny yourself rest is to deny a fundamental part of your nature. It's to operate in a state of constant low-grade emergency, running on adrenaline and cortisol, which disconnects you from your body's wisdom and your soul's guidance. You have been conditioned to believe your worth is directly proportional to your output. For the feminine queen, rest is not a luxury. It is a rebellion. It is a radical act of defiance against a system that profits from your burnout. She rejects the badge of honor that is exhaustion and instead reclaims rest as a sacred practice. This means napping like a lioness, not because she is lazy, but because she is gathering her strength for the next powerful move. It means lounging like a goddess, allowing herself moments of pure, unproductive being. It means understanding that great ideas, creative breakthroughs, and deep healing do not happen when you are stressed and rushing. They emerge from the fertile ground of stillness. A queen does not hustle for her worth. She embodies it even, and especially when she is doing nothing at all. Her stillness is not empty. It is full of power, potential, and profound self-respect. 10. The final decree: you were never broken. After this entire journey of meeting the inner child, integrating the shadow, setting boundaries, and reclaiming your body, it can be tempting to frame it all as a process of healing. It can feel like you have been engaged in a massive project of self-repair, fixing the parts of you that were broken by your past. But here, at the culmination of this understanding, we arrive at the most powerful truth of all, the final decree from your sovereign self. You were never broken to begin with. You were wounded, yes. You were conditioned, misled, and forced to forget your own magnificence. But your core essence, your true self, was never and can never be broken. It is indestructible. Therefore, this journey is not about healing a flawed being. It is about remembering the perfect being you have always been. It is an act of awakening, not of rising from the ashes, because you were never ash. You were always the fire. The love you have been desperately seeking from others is the love your inner girl has been waiting to receive from you. The power you thought you had to acquire is the power that has been dormant in your shadow, waiting to be reclaimed. The radiant feminine essence you thought you had to release is the very energy that has been patiently coursing through your veins, waiting for you to simply acknowledge its presence. You are not becoming a feminine queen. You are simply remembering that you have been one all along. Now, take your throne and reign. This inner work, this journey back to your own sovereign center, is the most important adventure you will ever undertake. It's a path of courage, of radical self-honesty, and of profound, unconditional love for every part of who you are. The wisdom of psychologists like Carl Jung provides us with a map, but it is you, my queen, who must take the steps. It is you who must choose, day after day, to honor your own truth, to protect your own energy, and to celebrate your own unique, divine, feminine power. The world doesn't need any more women who have shrunk themselves to be palatable. The world desperately needs women who are fully embodied, unapologetically sovereign, and radiating the powerful light of their integrated selves. Remember that you are not alone on this path. Every woman who chooses to heal her inner girl contributes to the healing of the collective feminine. Your courage gives another woman courage. Your sovereignty inspires another woman to claim her own. This is the beautiful, interconnected nature of our power. By reclaiming your own throne, you help illuminate the path for your sisters to find theirs. You are a leader, a way shower, and a beacon, simply by committing to your own authentic selfhood. You are a feminine queen, and your presence is a gift to this world. Continue to explore these depths. Be patient with yourself. This is not a race, it is a homecoming, and it unfolds in its own divine time. Let your curiosity lead you, let your intuition guide you, and let your heart be your compass. The kingdom within you is vast, beautiful, and full of treasures waiting to be discovered. The more you explore it, the more you will realize that everything you have ever searched for outside of yourself was within you all along. Thank you for joining me today on Feminine Queen. If this message resonated with you, if it sparked something within your soul, I invite you to continue this journey with our community. Subscribe to the channel, share your thoughts in the comments below, and join a sisterhood of women who are all dedicated to the powerful, beautiful work of remembering who they truly are. Until next time, walk in your power, honor your truth, and never ever forget the queen that you are.